Greetings and welcome, everybody. This is UC Weekly News. I'm your host, as always, David Danto, and I have an interesting show for you this week because I have something that's a little bit out of the ordinary of what we do, but then again, in the world of AV, it kind of isn't. I want to introduce you to Murray Hidary, who's on with me, as well as one of his technicians, Kyle Dombrowski, is on as well. Murray is the founder and performer with a concert and facility called Mindtravel. And Murray, introduce yourself for a second. Give us a minute or two on your background, and then tell us what Mindtravel is, and then we'll get into some of it.
Great. Thanks, David. Great to be here. So I'm the creator of Mindtravel, and as a pianist and composer, I wanted to create an immersive music experience that brings together music, nature, and community. And that's what I've done with Mindtravel. I used to perform in concert halls and theaters, and while that's fantastic, my real inspiration, the source of my own creativity, like so many, is nature, is being at the beach, being at the ocean. And I was like, how do I get the audience to the beach and have a great quality sound experience when I'm playing, the piano? And that's when I had the idea, coming up on, if you can believe it, almost 10 years now, 10 years ago, I had the idea to put the audience in wireless headphones. And so we had the first test on a beach in Santa Monica with a handful of people with some very rudimentary headphones, if you could imagine what the technology was like 10 years ago, and an electric keyboard. And it worked. It provided a very intimate, direct, very personal sound experience in the vastness of nature on the beach. And while it's beautiful there, the acoustics out in nature are usually pretty terrible. You've got the wind, you've got the ocean. They're gorgeous visually, but they're terrible acoustically. So that was the solution to the problem, was to give people those headphones and figure out how to really craft that in a great way.
So I want to come back to that. I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail, but let's talk a little bit about what Mindtravel is intended to do. Obviously, performing a concert out in the open is nice. It's interesting. I've never experienced it, and I'm looking forward to, as we record this, I will have been to one of them at this point. So I'll add some B-roll and we can show everybody what it looks like. But what is your goal? What is your point in performing this way?
I think it's a combination of providing an experience that is both transportive as well as healing, and using music as the language of emotion, using music to really open people's minds, hearts, and give people a space to really just feel the experience of life. We all know the healing properties of music, as well as nature, so combining those really provides the right kind of setting for people to work through whatever they're going through in life.
And I know I read a little bit about the history that it was born of a tragedy that you had experienced, and it helped you, and I guess you're passing along that helping. What would you want someone to take away from the experience once they've been there? Is it something you want them to repeat? Is it something that you want them to make changes in their life? What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. This experience was born from my own experience of going through grief, and I turned to music as part of my healing process, and I saw what was possible through that, and so I wanted to offer that to others who are going through whatever they're going through. It could be intense grief, like I went through, or just the stresses of everyday life. And so the idea is to come, to just listen, to have the experience, by doing it outdoors like that without fixed seats, and have the headphones. It gives people also the freedom of movement. In a theater, we're kind of stuck in our seats, but here people can walk around, they can find their own moment to have, whatever space they need, come back to the group. So the range on these headphones is hundreds and hundreds of feet. So people can really find their own moment there. And we have people who come back again and again and again, because it's like if you went to the gym, you wouldn't, to get physically fit, you wouldn't go once and say you're physically fit for life. You kind of have to go a few times a week. So it's the same thing with our mental and emotional health. We need practices. we need routines, we need rituals that we do as human beings to maintain our emotional and mental well-being. Whatever that might be. It could be going for a walk around your neighborhood. It could be going to a meditation class or yoga class, but there are different things that work for different people. And Mindtravel works for so many people as a way to connect with what they're going through and really work through stuff.
So
So
your goal is the repeat attendee. You want somebody to enjoy the experience so much that they'll keep coming back and follow you on tour and be part of it as much as they can.
yeah, and they do, and that's why I've me and my team, we've organized our touring in a different way than most musicians or bands. A musician or band typically might go to a city maybe once a year, maybe once every other year when they have an album, and that makes sense for their model. But for me, I'm really trying to build community, as you just mentioned. So it's about coming back to a location more frequently so that we can really build relationship and we are giving people a space to come back to. So in many cities, we're there as frequently as monthly, to cities that are more seasonal, right? Like up in the Northeast, right, where they're outdoors. So obviously it would be limited to summer months. But we're there, through the months of the summer to give people that opportunity. So that's the idea, is to create frequency, so people can develop a practice out of it.
All right, so let's talk about the technology then, because that's probably what most of the people that are watching this are more interested
Yeah.
in. I've never attended a silent concert. I've attended, I haven't attended. I've been aware of. I've been near silent discos. I
Right.
think some cruise ships do that, where they'll give you all headphones and people will be dancing, and if you look at them, it's silent from the outside, and everybody's got their earphones blaring. What? How do you manage the technology in that kind of an outdoor environment where there aren't dropouts, where you have that many channels? I assume a Bluetooth. What's the technology that you're using to make that work?
So actually, what's so great is that we're able to utilize um, really technology that is tried and true. And so, Bluetooth is effective for kind of one or two connections, on a channel. So you would need a massive array to do it with Bluetooth, and the range would be very, very limited. I think the range for Bluetooth, effectively is not more than 30 feet, 40
Mhm.
feet, is what you can get out of it. That wouldn't work for us. We want people to be able to walk, hundreds of feet. And so we turned to radio frequency, to RF, to enable this experience. And so maybe, Kyle, you want to talk about it for a moment?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty simple setup for the event. Like Murray was mentioning, with the RF frequencies, we're able to do about like maybe 600 feet or more of range for the audio
So it's similar to an
experience.
assistive listening system, where multiple headphones listening to the feed of whatever the performer.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Murray's Yamaha keyboard, and we have wireless mics. All of that is connected to a mixer, and then that mixer is connected to a transmitter. So all these wireless headphones have a built-in receiver, and yeah, we just like broadcast a specific frequency to during the event, and each headphone will be set to that same frequency, and all the attendees can be local to where we are, or they can walk to the beach, whatever they're feeling in the moment
So I'm assuming it's
or
a
to
low
enjoy.
power transmission. It's something that doesn't require a license.
No.
Yeah, this set of frequencies, this range, I should say, the band of frequency that that we use is designated by the regulations for this purpose. So we can transmit in this frequency range, but yes, like you said, it's very low energy, low wattage, so it doesn't go more than a few hundred meters. And it's, but effectively we're like a little local radio station on the beach.
Right.
That's
And
basically what we are. And you can
And
have an
and
unlimited number of headphones, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, which we've had. We've had 1,000 people with headphones listening simultaneously with zero latency, zero delay. And that's the other thing. We're not going up to the cloud. That's another way you could theoretically do it. And we looked at that. Like, do you develop a Wi-Fi network and you go to the cloud and then you transmit, and that would actually create latency. You'd see me playing and then you'd hear it, a second later, and that wouldn't work. So
there are
uh,
some new technologies. The Bluetooth SIG are putting forward something called Auracast and a few others. But I
right,
understand low power transmission is probably the right thing to do. I understand the simple mixing setup, and I'm assuming you're transmitting in stereo or at least some type of a spatial piece. But what I'm struggling with is how are you managing the logistics of having that many headsets charged and tuned correctly?
well, the talk to Kyle.
So I charge all the headphones ahead of time. So that's like maybe around 630 for like the LA events. And then there's at on location, there's a whole team that will take out the headphones, turn them on, set them to a comfortable volume level, and then make sure that they're also on the right channel. It's fairly simple for them because there's three channels that we mainly use. But
Digital tuning, so then it's
yeah,
nothing that you have to slide into place. It's just you're clicking
Right.
A, B, or C.
they're just buttons.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
That's right. And we have now headphones because of our frequency of performing. We do over 100 concerts a year in dozens of cities. But they're basically regional, David. So it's the California coast, literally from head to toe, San Diego to San Francisco. And so we have a California-based team and inventory, those 600 plus headphones in California. But then we have the same thing replicated in Miami for the whole Florida coastline. We do about 12 beaches in Florida, the whole coastline from Jacksonville Beach down to Miami, around to the Gulf Coast, Sarasota, St. Pete's, all the way to Pensacola, Panhandle. So we have about another 1,000 headphones there for that market. And then New York, we have a whole inventory there of another 600-700 headphones that we'll be using at Seabright when you attend, and you'll see it all in action there. You'll see how it all works.
Do you want to talk about the brand? Is there a company that you're working with that supports you on this?
We actually, because of the nature of these, they have to have like a RF receiver built into them. We have to make them in a factory in China. And they're Mindtravel branded headphones that we make by the thousands in China.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, we'll definitely get
Yeah.
some close-ups of it when we come to
Yeah,
see the
if one day, to your point, if one day we decide to shift to Bluetooth for some experiences, then certainly we would reach out to some wonderful headphone brands and see if we can partner with them. And we're open to that at the right time when the technology works for us, or maybe create a VIP experience where you get some super cushy headphones, from Bose or someone like that. But the headphones we have are incredibly high level and comfortable with beautiful cushioning and full ear coverage, and really well done. So we're very happy with them.
And I can assume, just based on the lives that we've all lived through for the last 5 or 6 years, that you must put them through some sort of rigorous paces when you bring them back in and get them cleaned up for the next show. There's got to be some, disinfecting, and, again, that's logistics that you don't think of when you
Yeah,
think of a concert.
I know. And we did that before COVID. We do it after COVID. The team, right when they come back in at the check-in table, on site, we wipe them all down and put them back in, and then they get charged after that. What's nice is that they have about a 10-hour battery life, so we can actually use them for 2, possibly 3 shows before they get recharged, but they do get disinfected and cleaned in between shows.
Okay. Tell me about the best experience you've ever had doing this, and tell me about the worst experience you've ever had doing this.
Well, I'll tell you about the
Because
best. That's
trust
an
me,
easy.
I've done live events for a long time in my life. I know that sometimes things go wrong, and they
Yeah.
feel like your stomach's dying at the time, but they're funny afterwards.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you the best one. That's easy to think about. I mean, there's so many best ones, but the at the top of the list, probably I would have to say was a couple of years ago. I was invited on an expedition to Antarctica, and Antarctica with all its incredible wildlife, penguins, seals, whales, all of it. There's actually a rule that you can't have amplified sound on Antarctica, and so I was invited on this expedition to actually perform, but we couldn't do anything amplified on Antarctica based on these rules. You don't want to disturb the wildlife. So I said, well, it turns out that I do a silent piano concert. And the organizers of the expedition were like, oh my God, that's perfect. They got permission from the authorities, to on Antarctica to do that, all the conservation groups. And so we put my electric grand piano on a plane, uh, along with hundreds of headphones, and flew it down to the tip of Argentina, to Ushuaia, the tip of Argentina, where we met up with the ship, and then put everything on the ship. Took 2.5 days to cross the Drake Passage on this ship. When we got to Antarctica, we put the piano and all of these headphones on Zodiacs to then get to the shoreline of Antarctica. And then we set it up early in the morning. And then the 150 people who were on the ship as part of this expedition, they came a couple of hours later after we were set up. And once they hit shore, in their huge parkas and their clothing, their boots, they were given headphones. They put the headphones on, and the first thing they heard when they set foot on the continent of Antarctica for the first time was a Mindtravel piano experience. And as far as I know, it's the first piano concert ever done on Antarctica, possibly the only one. So that was pretty incredible. And the headphones allowed it to take place because of the regulations. And there were hundreds of penguins around, and they were all curious and looking. And I actually wore, David, a tuxedo to feel right at home with the penguins.
There you go.
So
what were you listening to? Did you have a small monitor, or were you wearing headphones as well?
I wear the headphones too, because I want to hear what the audience is hearing. So I wear the headphones right along. It actually helped there because it kept my ears warm. So that was another double benefit.
Clearly in the headphones. So if you can hear me clearly, just raise your hand. Look at that. Okay, wonderful. There is a volume dial that you should be able to find. It's kind of like a little toggle under your right ear, so you can adjust it up or down. And as I start playing, you can just get the volume, the sound to the exact level that's comfortable for you. So you have the perfect sound experience.
And I know the point of it is the marriage of nature and sound, but have you ever done one in multiple locations simultaneously, where you would have a host at various locations, but you'd be performing in one of them and maybe use video so people could see you?
I've definitely we've been thinking about that. I actually I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Steinway Stereo technology. It's a piano that is an internet device. So it actually can transmit the MIDI data and then play what you're playing at one location on another piano at another location. And so I actually own one of these in my home. And so I've been talking to Steinway about possibly having a distributed concert in several cities with several of these pianos. So that's
Yeah,
another possibility.
that would be interesting, as it would be as if you had somewhere in the audience a live camera that people could walk up to and see the other locations.
Yes,
Type
absolutely.
of global connection that would be really interesting. All right, last question about the music, because we really haven't talked about that. When I listen to this, will I be hearing things that I know? Are they all original compositions? Are they classical? Are they jazz? Tell me about the music that you play.
Yeah, so as a composer, it's all original. And I play uninterrupted, David, from first note to last note, about 75 minutes uninterrupted. And it's a real-time composition, a form of improvisation. So there's a personality that I perform in musically. So you would know it's me from concert to concert, but it's a different musical journey each time. And that enables me to take in what's happening on site. Maybe I can remember concerts where the wind picks up and I reflect that in the music, or there's a storm coming, or watching the sunset and timing my music exactly with that final point of sunset going below the horizon. And so I get to have that freedom of composing in real time with it. And of course that also allows the audience to come each time and hear something different.
Okay.
So there won't be tunes, my influences are everything from Keith Jarrett to Philip Glass, and with a little Bach polyphony thrown in. So it's those are the influences, of it. But it's very cinematic, I would say, is probably a good way to describe it. It's like a soundtrack to the landscape that we're in.
Okay, that's terrific. If people want to find out more about Mindtravel, or find out more about you, or get in touch with the group that does this, how would you suggest they do that?
Easiest way is to go to mindtravel.com. Doesn't get easier than that. Or check us out on Instagram. You can see kind of the latest shows and where we are, and get some short clips there as well.
Kyle, Murray, thank you very much for your time today. We will be cutting this in with obviously some excerpts of me having attended it, and I'll assume it's beautiful. If it wasn't a beautiful experience, then I won't leave this line in the video, but I'm assuming it'll be wonderful, and we'll share that with all the people that watch this. Thanks very much for staying with us today.
Great. We'll see you at the beach, David.
Okay, and thank you very much for watching this week. I'm David Danto for UC Weekly News. We'll catch you on the next show.